Parasha Nitzavim. So Rabbi Ruchim points out a more dikazach. Klai Yisrael just went to the midbar. They had the Adan Yaakov, they had the Man, they had the Bear, the Moshe Rabbeinu, they had the Shechina. Nevertheless, when they passed by the Avodah Zaros, which is called Shikutzim, Giluleim, Dung, despicable things, detestable things. Oh, Vatira, you saw it. Oh, it needed a new bris. What happened? They just saw it. Nashpa just was seeing already. They needed a bris. Faket. When you see something, when you're so in contrast to something, it hits you much stronger. It works both ways. Hen mitzad chas v'shalom the tumah, or mitzad the Torah. Gifta once explained, he said that it bothered him to no end because he was walking to the Hashana, and he used to talk to him in learning when he used to come to tell us in Ben Azmanim, and Goyim would step back, holy man. I mean, and it was very disturbing. I'm talking to him in learning, not just shmuzing him. I'm not jumping back in the hall like the guy does. How's that work that way? And he brought several other cases, very similar types of situations, and he said, because when something is in direct contrast to something, if you have Tumah, Kedusha, the guy is, what is he? The Shaykh has any connection to anything Kaddish, to anything holy, so he sees it. Wow. But we see holy things, but we also, Pirvuvia, we're mixed up. We see other things which are not, and it blends together, so the contrast is not as strong. All right, so we don't see if we get into it, but if a person sees that contrast, he Klai Yisrael's in the midbar. They saw that way the Zohar already make such a hashpah, such a rosham. Oh, they didn't do bris. The emphasis, what's the shofar? The halacha says we blow a bent shofar, kafuf, ram's horn. You get the schus v'akedas yitzchak. You get the kafuf. That means the seed's bent over. You bend over. It tells me to be humble. But let's say, it says in Mishabura, let's say the ram's horn happens to be straight. Straight, but the yo'el, which is the horn that's usually straight, happens to be bent. So which one should we use? Don't forget, this Akedah Shal Yitzchak is the ram's horn, brings the Zikarai. No. Better use the bent shofar because I have to bend myself, make myself kafuf. It's an amazing thing. Who even sees the shofar? I mean, you have a shul, a yeshiva, they belong to shofar under the talus. Yet, if you see that shofar and it's bent, I'm going to bend myself to Shemayim. That's the purpose of the bent shofar. Let me bend myself to Shemayim. The hashpah, what you could see, could impact. If we would realize what we see, that means if we look out for the good things, for the tahara, kedusha, look at a gadol. Go see. The Gemara says that he saw the back of Reb Meir. The back! Look what he is. If you were seeing the front, you see the panim, the Yerushalayim, the Torah, the Ayr. That person comes along and he can, himself, what he can accomplish by that. Sing the shofar. It's more halachic, better than the Ayil Shal Yitzchak, which we live on. The Akedah. You see the hashpah, all these different things that take place. We said last week, it was Parshas Kiseitze. Amalek comes at the end of the Parasha. Amalek, well, what's he doing in the Kiseitze? We're talking about Parasha Zocha, we're talking about Purim, Amalek, Timcha Zecha, Amalek. And Yidlus with the Parasha, so what's Amalek have to do with it? Sorry, Meir, Torah was at the beginning of the Parasha. But, Didi Hamuvta, we go to the yeshiva, Baruch Hashem, we have a schus to go to the yeshiva in Cleveland, for Cyrus, for Elul, people come back, it's inspiring, sitting there for hours and hearing people say, Moedik Drushes. It's a tremendous inspiration. So yes, somebody I knew he would love to come if he could. I said, "You coming to the?" I wish I could, but I can't. There's a matzeva, my dear friend. On that day, I can't come. Another person said, "I have a big job I have to finish. I can't come." And there's a third person. He said, "I can't come," and he was honest. I don't know if he realized what he said. He said, "I'm going to the football, the game, because my two favorite teams are playing, and he already paid his $80. Okay, then. I realized he was my Amalek. Why? Not that he meant chas v'shalom. He cooled me down. He cooled me down. What am I going for? What, I have to spend the day leaving to go. I can watch a game. I can do something else. 1 second. 1 second. It's Rosh Hashana next 2 weeks. My life is in danger. People look and see over the course of the past year who died, who got sick, Shalom Bayis, Padasa. What about all the good things that took place over the course of the year? It's all Nigzal last day of Kippur. I won't say I believe it, I don't believe it. Well, he's going to the game. I don't know. When Rosh Hashanah comes, we'll all scream together, Hashem, help me! But right now, so everything's calm, it's okay. Amalek, his karcha cools you down. Everybody, nobody's up. Rosh Hashanah's coming next week, okay? I'm excited, worried. My life is on the line. My ruchnis is on the line. My whole life, my eternity, everything's going to be on Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, to be nixed for the upcoming year. That doesn't bother me. That's Amalek. That's Krirus. He cooled it down. Look around you. What's the other guy doing about this? And, okay. And our mitzvah is Timcha Zech Amalek. Get rid of Amalek. That's why it's a Melchama Hashem. Amalek, dar. Every generation. That's the Melchama. You got to fight the Amalek out of us. It's a real. We're going to have to get ready before Rosh Hashanah. So someone asked me, is Rosh Hashanah, do you cry Rosh Hashanah? He cries. It's his life. It's his life. This is why I'm saying, oh, Rosh Hashanah, it's Malchus Hashem. It's his day of coronation. He's the king that day. That's what our focus is. Others say, what do you mean? It's my life on the line. What am I supposed to do? It's the same thing. The more I come to realize HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech Malchei Amlachim. He's the king. Everything is governed by him. Every breath of air I take. My finger moves. My health, my parnasa, my life, my ruchnius. It's all him. He's the Melech. The more I can recognize his malchus, that's it. Hashem, you're the king. Can I have another year, please? I'll take care of it myself. Whatever I'm going to do. He missed the whole boat. There's only malchus. Hashem means in Parasha. He is the only thing. He is what controls everything. The more hakara, the more recognition I will get, and realizing he is the melech, the more all of a sudden I realize my life is dependent on him. I'm going to live. So automatically you're going to cry. How am I going to move? I need ruchnius. I need everything. It's automatic. The more you realize it's his control, the more you realize yourself. It's one thing. It's all the same. But indeed, the hachana, the preparation. So there was a person in town, I was saying, he came to speak at the Kol Dinner many years ago, a very influential person in the government circles. There was a rabbi in some city. Anyway, so he said, he said he was going to Eretz Yisrael, and there were Avrechim who approached him because they wanted jobs in the rabbinate in Israel, but they were sort of called more Charedisha, so they weren't really getting the jobs. They were very qualified. They asked him, he's a very influential person, if he could speak to the chief rabbi. He said, I don't really have any connections in Eretz Yisrael. I mean, America's my... He said, Afal BK, please try. He said, okay, let's see what he could do. He comes to Eretz Yisrael. He gets a phone call from the chief rabbi, wants to meet him. So, okay, he meets the chief rabbi. The chief rabbi says, I have to ask you a favor. Because every year, they used to get an invitation, the chief rabbi by the President of the United States of America, a very prestigious thing, a meeting. And there was a senior, George Bush was the president at the time, and the invitation was not forthcoming. And the ambassador of Israel didn't get an invitation. And he asked him, please, I'd really like to have that meeting. So I see what I can do. Meanwhile, he said, there are some Yingalaita who would very much appreciate a job. They interested golf and he got the job. Fine. Anyway, he came back to the next, he used to make the invocations at the dinners, and etc. So anyway, next time he was with the president, he was 4 people away from him. So he bends over, Mr. President, the chief rabbi of Israel would appreciate so much to have that meeting that's usually forthcoming every year. And the president says, what can I do? My hands are tied. His ministers at the time were more leaning towards the anti-Israel faction, so to say. What can I do? So he said, please, he really would love to have that meeting. See, please, Mr. President. He said, let me see what I can do. Sure enough, the meeting was arranged. Well, he was coming, the ambassador of Israel hopped on too, and it was a 45-minute meeting. The next time the president met this rabbi, he says to him, it was the most meaningful meeting I've ever had in my life. What was the meeting? For 45 minutes, this Chief Rabbi Shapiro told the president everything about his life since he was a kid, high school, teenagers, on and on and on. He told him things he totally forgot about. He was just so taken. What was so meaningful about that meeting? You're just hearing about yourself? When a person goes to a president, Ich war I was by the president. I got what I needed, whatever it was, prestige, picture. It's about me. I got from the president. This rabbi researched the president, his life, his details. It showed the president, the president himself, his person, meant something. No one else did that. He showed him with his meaning. Now imagine, we come next week to the coronation of the king. If I come along and say, Your Majesty the King, give me this. Of course. But imagine if I come to the king himself and I say, Your Majesty the King, I have to tell you, I'm so awed by everything about you. Your Majesty, you created galaxies. You created every creature that breathed. I looked into everyone, insects, fish, animals, ecology, people, nerves, cells, brains, everything about the human, everything about people, everything about the creations. Imagine you researched and see the awesome creation that Kosh Baruch Hu, the Melech Malchim made. And your compassion, your rachum, your chanun, your chapayim, your patient, you give chesed chidam. Look how much bounty you give for pleasure, for free. You do chesed chidam. Now we can't say HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a vatron, but chesed chidam he does. Why do I deserve anything? And go into detail. The king says, wow, you're really into my malchus. It really means something. It's meaningful to the melech. He doesn't need us. Kivayachol, if you come along, that's what he says to Klal Yisrael, Tablichuni aleichem. Make me king over you. This is the job. Imagine we go along now. All of a sudden we start, Melech! What Melech? Who? What's Melech? Like the Gemara Gittin says, Melech, where are you till now? Means if we have this time for Rosh Hashanah, sit down. Start going through just concept of what it means Hashem's Melech. What does it mean to me? What does it mean that I'm his subject? What does it mean that I'm going to make a Kosh Baruch Hu Melech? The more I'm prepared for that, the more I'm coming for that, the more malchus, and then I become his eved, his ben. We go Avinu Malkedu. We have both milas that Klal Yisrael is oifen to recognize that privilege of who I am, what I represent, and that Melech Malchem Lachim asks me to make him the Melech. That's what he wants from me on this Rosh Hashanah day. Imagine my preparation for that. Me, you have that awesome tafkid that I'm going to be the one to come along and proclaim Kosh Baruch Hu the Melech, and I'm ready to do your bidding. That's what the Rosh should give us. We can have from any amount of hashpah. In other words, like we said, you see the shofar is bent. It can make hashpah. You see things which you shouldn't see. It could chalila take us away. It could be the Amalek. We can be cooled down. But our job is to be moicha, and it's mechama al Hashem the Amalek midor dor. It's Hashem's mechama. And I can fight his war. Anytime I knock out my Amalek that cools me down, I'm fighting Hashem's wars. I'm doing his battle. That's what Hashem said. What I can accomplish. We have a week. We can have the zchus. We should be able to stand next week on Rosh Hashana to make him the Melech, and I should be zocheh to have that. I should be fulfilling his mission of what I could do on this world.